My dear students, the esteemed faculty, the administrators of this university, Professor Shashi Kiran, Malati, Sarda, and other friends whom I have met before, and all the distinguished scholars from different parts of the world who are here on both sides of the dais. It's my great privilege and honor to take part in this mega event that is so nicely organized. You have brought distinguished minds from different corners of the world, and they have been asked to address a very important theme, building a global village and addressing the topic of language, literature, cultural studies, and knowledge resources. I very much look forward to the panel sessions and the other presentations from which we all hope to learn a great deal. So I believe that those sessions are going to begin soon, and I believe that we are also heading towards the time when we are supposed to have a lunch break or a break of some sort. So I take it this is not the opportunity for me to give my keynote address, since I thought the session would end at 12, and maybe it has now been extended, but I just don't see how I can manage to give an address of any substance in a few minutes. So I take it this is an opportunity for me to express my gratitude to the organizers to put together this conference and invite me to be here, and thank you all for willing to be taking part in this wonderful event. So thank you all. Offer a theory of global village. Since the time is very short, instead of trying to discuss the concept in the light of how it has been developed by others like McLuhan, I will just go straight to the way I want to develop it by using a variety of ideas from different philosophical traditions. Let me just ask you, can you hear me clearly all the way to the end? Okay. So I'm going to draw upon many different philosophical traditions, but the main source for my effort today will be from the Indian tradition, especially the Hindu philosophical tradition. So I'm going to do two things. They are connected. One, a theory of global village, and then a theory of universals, which too will be mainly derived, though again drawing upon many different traditions, but mainly derived from the Indian and the Hindu philosophical tradition as the foundation, metaphysical foundation for language, literature, cultural studies, and knowledge sources. So that's the plan, and then I'll see how much of that is accomplished. So here it is. So building a global village. I want to emphasize that the concept that I'm really interested in is better expressed as glocalization. This is, of course, a hybrid word. By combining the words global and local. So global, and I do want to distinguish it from the more familiar concept of globalization, which has both positive and negative sides that many of us are familiar with. So the powerful Western economies have been taking advantage of their huge resources in recent decades, since straightforward colonization and imperialism no longer work in the world today, but it has taken other forms, and globalization is one of those forms in which this very large, extremely powerful and rich so-called multinational corporations, but they're mainly owned by the Western companies, so to speak. They are establishing vast economic empires all through the world. And this is part of the globalization process, helping them to break down the trade barriers so that they can really pulverize the local competition. Now, only some of the bigger countries outside of the West, such as China and India, have been able to, in some ways, handle that huge pressure and make use of this process to some extent to their advantage. But many other countries that are much smaller are really not able to cope with the tremendous onslaught of these multinationals. And many countries, smaller countries in Asia and Africa in particular, are really suffering. The gap between the rich and the poor has increased. The statistics is abundantly clear. In a very short time, according to all the projections, 99% of the world's wealth, 99%, will be owned by less than 1%. We're almost there, less than 1% of the world's population. So that is the kind of distribution that globalization has brought to us. So I'm not really going to offer you a theory of globalization, but something else that is equally respectful of the global as well as the local. Please, the next slide. So that's the important distinction that I need to draw first, that I'm not simply going to talk about globalization. I'm going to really talk about glocalization, because that is equally respectful of both global and local factors and forces. So next one, please. And to understand this concept, I have to break it down to a few things. First, cultural globalization. And that has a few aspects. Now, as I'm sure you know that I have a very short time, so I cannot really develop all of these in any substance, but very, very superficially and very quickly. Cultural globalization has all these different main, facets, like cultural, social, religious, and ethical pluralism. Now that's important. You see, pluralism, the other form of that, the rival form of that, as a point of view, as a theory, is monism, that is exclusivism, that there is only one right way of doing things, there is only one true religion, there is only one absolute ethical theory that works for all situations, and so on and so on. So I think that for a proper normative study of the concept of the global village, we must stay away from that. We must stay away from the thesis that there is only one true religion. There are many. Now, we are very familiar with what that belief does, that there is only one true religion. So Christianity is the only true religion, Hinduism is the only true religion, or Islam is the only true religion. We all know what that has given to us, what kind of bloodshed. It is still going on. It's not just a matter of the past. We are living through it right now. So people are being dragged from their homes, and just being butchered based on this belief of one true faith. We can never have a proper global village as long as we hold on to this kind of belief. All right, so religious pluralism is very natural to Hinduism. It's absolutely familiar from the very beginning of Hinduism. Even the Rig Vedas say, Ekam Sat Vipra Vahudha Vadat. Like, God is one, but but scholars give it many different names. The Bhagavad Gita, ye yathamang prapadyante, tangs tathaiva bhajamyaham. Whoever approaches me in whichsoever way, just see how broad and Catholic the notion is. Whoever, in whichsoever way, no limit, not 2, not 3, not 5, I protect him, I accept him or her. There is no him there, okay? So, in that soever way. So, the implication is a Muslim will be accepted by God as a Muslim. A Muslim does not have to be Hindu to be accepted by Krishna, or a Christian does not have to be a Hindu, and so on and so on. Now, this kind of religious pluralism, this kind of tolerance must be a part of our understanding of a global village, not exclusivism that has dominated the history of human civilization so far. We must move away from that. I want to say a little bit about ethical pluralism also. There are many highly influential ethical theories. One of them is Kant's deontological theory that he developed in the groundwork of the metaphysics of morals and other works. He's one of the great modern philosophers, and I have nothing but tremendous admiration and respect for Kant's philosophy. But then his ethical theory is absolutistic. Categorical imperatives. He offers a theory of categorical, unconditional imperatives that admit of no exceptions under no circumstances whatsoever. Telling the truth, for example, is a categorical imperative in Kant's view. We must tell the truth no matter what. Well, how about this situation? So in Hitler's Germany, a Jewish family is hiding in your basement, and a Nazi officer is knocking at your door and asking you about this family. Do you know where they are? Of course, you know that they are in your basement and you have given them shelter, otherwise they will be caught and you know what will happen. Well, in Kant's view, you should still tell the Nazi officer when you are asked where this family is that they are in my basement, because that is your absolute duty. You must always tell the truth. Now, this kind of absolutism is absolutely absurd in my view, because it is also your duty, I mean moral duty, in Kant's own opinion, to help people. Try to help them, try to protect them, try to save innocent lives. So Kant has no way of dealing with this kind of conflict when there are such conflicts, serious conflicts. And that's why I don't like that very influential Western moral theory. I'll mention one more, extremely influential, the most influential Western moral theory in the world today. Not Kant's, a different one, developed mainly by two British philosophers, Bentham and Mill. This is known as utilitarianism, the theory of the greatest good of the greatest number. Whatever brings most good to most people is the right thing to do. Well, excellent theory. Again, think of this situation. And I'll go to a different theory from the Hindu tradition and see how that works much better in just a few minutes. Again, this theory is not a proper foundation for a proper understanding. If we want to have peace and prosperity for the future, for a proper understanding of the global village, utilitarianism will not be, in my opinion, an appropriate ethical theory. Why not? Well, think of this situation. Let us enslave 1% of the population. Maybe that will help our economy to compete better, because we can exploit those people, make them work hard, and they have no rights whatsoever. And maybe that will give us an edge, and then it will bring, because of that edge, competitive edge, a lot of prosperity to the nation as a whole. Well, you are still, suppressing the rights. This will pass the tests of morality given by Jeremy Bentham and John Stuart Mill. This will be acceptable from this point of view as ethically proper. But again, that, in my opinion, is absurd. You must protect the rights, not of just 99% of your people, but 100% of the people. And this theory fails to do that. One more. The other most influential, this is the best known, most influential theory today, the utilitarian theory. And I'll mention just one more and then move on to the theory that I like more, which is from the Hindu tradition. This is Aristotle's theory of the golden mean. Again, it is absolutistic. You have to choose, avoid the extremes, and stay in the middle when you have to choose. Okay, don't try too much, don't try too little, just try enough. Okay. And you must build the disposition for that, so that that becomes your habit, so that that becomes your second nature. Well, it is well and good up to a point, and there is a lot more that I have to say, to be fair to Aristotle, to bring out this idea of eudaimonia that he has developed in Nicomachean Ethics and many of his other writings. It's a powerful concept, in my opinion, much more powerful than the simplistic utilitarian idea, or, in my opinion, the simplistic absolutistic idea of a categorical imperative that Kant has given us. So I do want to acknowledge that Aristotle's approach to ethics, so far as I'm concerned, appears to me to be much more productive than the more modern ones given by Kant and Bentham and Mill. But having said that, and without having indicated how one can develop these ideas into a very powerful ethical theory, so I do want to apologize for that, because I do have interest in moving on to something else. I would point out two limitations of this Aristotelian kind of theory, the virtue theory. Number one, that it is possible for smart people who are not very ethical to fulfill this standard. A clever lawyer can manage to do this. Just keep on sticking to the middle ground, middle course in ways, and just getting away with illegalities, not only illegalities but immoralities, because they're clever enough to do that. It's possible. The other one is that this theory will not be able to accommodate, extreme choices that are obviously highly moral, like someone like Jesus Christ will not fit into the Aristotelian framework. Someone like Buddha will not fit. Someone like a sage, that Krishna talks about in the Bhagavad Gita, will not fulfill the Aristotelian standard. So all these theories are extremely influential, but in my opinion, they have their, what is better? What is better than any one of these that I can offer to you in a few words? Well, here it is. I will make an effort. The ethics of selfless action, nishkama karma, that has been very briefly stated in the Bhagavad Gita, but the literature on it is just endless. The Sanskrit literature on this subject, nobody can exhaust it in one or even a few lifetimes. It is that big. So what can I do in a few minutes? Nothing. Very quickly, how it works better than Kant's theory or Mill's theory or Aristotle's theory as a foundation for our understanding of the global village. Well, it will allow you to make exceptions, as Kant cannot do. You can. You don't have always to tell the truth. Krishna permits that. Yes, to save an innocent life. As long as you act selflessly, you are not allowed to make any personal gain. You are not going to be concerned about any personal loss or gain. That is part of the nishkama, selfless action idea. Karmaryeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana, right? So never in the result, never in the consequence. So to that extent, it does agree with the Kantian perspective. But in Krishna's view, if you are acting selflessly, now, if you lie to the Gestapo officer because you have been promised a lot of money, to protect the Jewish family, you are not acting selflessly. So, again, it offers a way to a utilitarian to get out of that morass, because the majority will now have to fulfill the standard of acting selflessly. If the majority is coming up with measures that do benefit a very large number of people, but still, they ignore, they forget about the rest of the people. Though they are a much smaller number of people, they are still acting selfishly. They are not acting. The majority also has to live up to the standard of acting selflessly. So those don't work. And selfless action will so admirably fit someone like Jesus Christ. Someone like Jesus Christ had nothing, no personal agenda whatsoever. Sacrifice was the whole thing, right? But let me say this, if you have questions, objections, feel free to offer them now. You don't have to wait till the end of my presentation or whatever it is. I mean, you are very welcome to ask questions. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for the session. It's going good. Since there are two sides for truth, like let's say the hunter and the hunted has their sides of the truth. So why can't we just accept if one philosophy of life as another side of the truth other than calling it a wrong philosophy? Let's say if the Nazis has their
an approach to truth that is bipolar, that is either something is true or something is false. This is the foundation of Western logic, by the way, that was given to us by Aristotle and others, and this is standard classical logic. There are alternatives to it. There are alternative logics that are quite sophisticated, and some of these alternative logics are necessary to work on more current physical theories. The bipolar logic, the standard classical logic, has tremendous difficulties, logical difficulties, with recent physical theories. So there are many alternative logics, and this is a topic that I really like to talk about. But all I have to say today, it's very technical, and unless you are prepared, for this, it's really not very useful to get into this. But I acknowledge the possibility of alternative logics. That's a serious, very productive, highly challenging possibility. So I thank you for that comment. Thanks. So, well, we move to the next one, please. Well, as you may have guessed, may sound very idealistic, but we also need to have economic globalization. And some of the developed economies will actively participate in helping the growth of developing nations by transferring technologies, providing training, etc., in a way that is consistent with the structural foundations of the local economies and incorporates Gandhian ideas of self-rule Swaraj and relatively self-sustaining smaller economy. There's a very big enchilada to swallow, but in a capsule, that's what I'm trying to work out in developing this concept of a global village. Gandhian economics is not popular, I know that. Well, think of this. Are we living in a world that is peaceful? Or we are living in a world that is heading towards more strife, more wars, more poverty, more discrimination? I mean, take your pick. The world is it a better place today? Or is it a world, worse, much worse, and people are suffering all over the world? We have really destroyed our environment to the point, and the corporations have done it. Those multinational corporations, to maximize profiteering, they have taken over not only economies, but the whole earth and destroyed it. They have destroyed the environment to the point that it may actually be hopeless now to do anything about it. Maybe it is just too late. Maybe not. There is still a ray of hope. Well, if you seriously believe in this, that this is a disaster, this is not going to work, you have to look at alternatives. There are alternatives. Of course, these are idealistic, but idealism do have their place. Well, Marxian idea of a utopian classless society, of course, it's an idea. It has never been a reality. But does it have a power to change our lives? It does. It has changed our lives. It has changed the lives in China, for example. Think of what China was 40, 50 years ago and where it is today. Driven by this kind of idea, you can bring about big changes. Now, I agree the Gandhian economics is dismissed by everybody as just talk, just nice talk. But just think about the alternatives. This corporate, controlled economies is never going to bring prosperity to the masses. Marx is absolutely right on that. There will be always this gulf, huge gulf between the haves and the have-nots. So what is the solution? Is a classless society the best solution? Maybe. But the Gandhian alternative is also there, that the corporations are not going to be the owners of their wealth, they are only going to be the trustees. You can ask me, why would they agree to this? Well, they also have a lot to gain. For one thing, there will be more peace. Once these very large and extremely rich corporations are willing to share their wealth with the very poor, well, there will be more peace. There will be more progress among the masses, and they will be better consumers. We shall simply have a much better economy in which many, many more people can participate in a much, much more productive way. And that's a win-win for everybody. I mean, it is not just sheer idealism. There is also a practical side to it that should be attractive, could be attractive to everybody concerned. I only have a limited time, so I don't have the opportunity to get into details. But this is the kind of idea I have in mind. Self-rule means changing yourselves. You have to rule your own self. You have to have the discipline. You have to have the training, the proper training And that is the main function of the state in Gandhi's view. And once it has done its job, that is, once it has been able to give the kind of training and discipline to its people that will make them self-disciplined, that is the meaning of Swaraj, then they will be truthful. Truth is God in Gandhi's view. So the state will no longer be needed. There will be peace and order, and those police functions of the state, the military, those oppressive functions of the state, if we can reach a state like, it's a utopia of a sort, yes, I agree, but it is not a classless society. It is different from the Marxist idea of a classless. It does allow, capital. In Gandhian economics does have room for capital that Marxist economics. So those differences are there. And the emphasis on self-transformation is very much there in Marxism as well. But the kind of self-transformation that Gandhi has in mind is inspired by works like the Bhagavad Gita, the kind of perspective that you develop where you learn to think of yourself as one with everybody else. Sarva bhutastam atmanam, no exception. Sarva bhutani atmani. So everybody in yourself. If you can do that, this is a kind of training that Gandhi had in mind. This is a kind of self-rule that, and Marx certainly will not go there. So there are differences, but utopias, in my opinion, have their place in trying to build a theory of a global village that has a chance to take us towards more peace and more prosperity.